I think it's finally time, man. We have to go out there and talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the biggest wild card. We had discussed the biggest wild card for the Canadiens earlier in today's show. Oh, Carey Price's $10.5 million contract and the weaponizing cap space potential that presents itself with that deal. But in this video, we're talking about Vancouver's wild card. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with the LTIR. We are talking about the best prospect in the system, Jonathan Lekkerimaki. Because when it comes to Lekkerimaki and his production, I think it's good to have these yearly, monthly, maybe even weekly check-in videos as to what's going on. We kind of go crazy about these kinds of things during the regular season, but in the off-season when nothing is happening, it's a lot easier to just kind of, chill out and let things play their course. Because Jonathan Lekkerimaki, for example, he is a guy in the Canucks system, 20 years old, 5'11", 172, right-handed right-wing player. Of course, 15th overall pick by the team in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. Lekkerimaki had himself a really great season in 2023-2024, bouncing up from the down draft plus 1 year he had in 2022-2023 to 31 points in 46 games played with the Örebro Hockey Club, 19 goals, 12 assists. He also had a 6-game sample with the Abbotsford Canucks, getting a goal and an assist there for 2 points, and he was over a point per game and was a goal a game for Team Sweden at the U20s, aka the World Juniors. So for Lekkerimaki, his production really bolstered itself up this previous year, and we haven't really been shying away from that. We've made a few videos talking about Lekkerimaki and the point production and the goals that he was scoring over and over again. Long story short, being able to produce 31 points in 46 SHL games as a 19, 20-year-old is significant, and that number is kind of unobtainable when you think about most NHL prospects that suit up in the SHL. If you go over to the SHL in the past 10 years worth of play in the league, and you sort by U20 skaters, you'll see that Jonathan Lekkerimaki had himself one of the best ones. He's right here in third place, behind Elias Pettersson and behind Emil Bemstrom. Now, unfortunately, Bemstrom is nowhere near the player that Elias Pettersson is, for example, but Lekkerimaki is right there. He actually did have more points in the SHL than some other notable names like Noah Östlund. You have Andreas Janssen, Samuel Fajimo, Alex Wenberg is a name there that does exist. So these are all the 19-year-old guys in the SHL the past 10 years. Lekkerimaki did have more points than most of them. So, with this in mind, let's go over to the Canucks Army Prospect Rankings article series by Dave Hall, because a few days ago he ended up publishing the #1 prospect report for Vancouver's system, and it, of course, is Jonathan Lekkerimaki. Big surprise, big surprise. What I like about Dave Hall's work is that he goes out there and brings up some of the extra things that I don't think really present themselves right away. It goes over a holistic view of his season. This article, by the way, linked in the description. It talks about his SHL impact. It goes over to the international Swedish impact that he had. And then it goes down here at the bottom. After a short stint in the AHL where he started to gain offensive traction with points in back-to-back games, Jonathan Lekkerimaki returned to Sweden to embark on a month-long World Championship training camp. He had been a staple member of Sweden's national teams throughout his young career, and missing an opportunity to suit up in his first World Championship was simply out of the question. Unfortunately, as the official tournament drew closer, Sweden added several NHL talents from their respective eliminated clubs. On the outside looking in, he fell just short and wrapped up the year empty-handed. Yeah, that's kinda unfortunate, honestly, but you can't really say that it wasn't expected when you consider the Team Sweden that ended up going. All the guys from the NHL that were able to play for Team Sweden. Look at this. Everybody on the team, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, were NHL players. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to justify giving a spot to Lekkerimaki over a guy like even Fabian Zetterlund, for example. But still, there's going to be other opportunities for Lekkerimaki to suit up for Sweden in the future. It's just now was not the time. Overall, though, Dave Hall writes in this article, his season was a huge success. After being written off by many just 1 year prior, Lekkerimaki posted one of the most impressive lists of accolades in a single season's worth of work. He was the best junior in the SHL, the EliteProspects.com award. He had the most goals by a junior, most points by a junior, the most valuable player for Örebro. He was the Swedish Junior Hockey Player of the Year. He was at the World Juniors All-Star team. He was the MVP, and he had the silver medal. Yeah, he was really good at the World Juniors too, which I don't think we really hammered down that point as much as we could have, but Lekkerimaki was the top guy in goals in the tournament, tied with Isaac Howard. He was the MVP as well. That USA squad was absolutely stacked, so I could totally understand why Lekkerimaki got the award and any of the other guys did not. And then you have yourselves the silver medal on top of that too. This is where Dave Hall and the Canucks Army piece goes out there and talks about the future. And this is what we are paying attention to in the context of the Vancouver Canucks hockey team. Beyond the trophies and offensive numbers, the overall improvements in his all-around game truly caught our eye. In addition to his already potent release, he showcased an added gear to his motor, providing forechecks and hounding puck carriers. At 175 pounds, he's still slight, and his efforts don't always lead to getting hits or getting opponents off of pucks, but the effort is there. His ability to win battles shone from time to time, and his willingness to drive into the middle of the ice was much more prevalent than in years past. That, I think, is one of the aspects that makes Lekkerimaki such a potent offensive player, because throughout his draft-eligible career, he could do the Ovechkin thing, where he just kind of stands at the face-off circle, gets the 1T, and he fires it on goal, and it goes in. I mean, he's always been a primary goal scorer compared to a pure playmaker throughout his junior days, but once he unlocks that ability to go into the middle of the ice more, not just sticking around in the perimeter and trying to force goals in through his heavy shot, but allowing himself to open up lanes in tighter areas, have different looks onto the goaltender, and be able to pass the puck a little bit more too, it bodes very well for a prospect development course that happens to be one of the most unique ones we have seen in a while, since he is just so good at scoring goals, and he's always scoring more goals than he has assists. It's a very consistent pattern throughout his numbers. There's still work to be done and more weight to be gained, but the process taken this season was paramount, said Lekkerimaki in an interview with Canucks.com's Chris Faber. One-on-one battles on the boards and play around the net. I want to find areas that I can shoot as soon as I get the puck, so I think I need to move my feet to get into those areas. I want to be stronger without the puck and stronger defensively. I'll be taking away the body more and more. The next part of this article is interesting. With Sweden in his rear view, the big question on everybody's mind is Lekkerimaki NHL ready? There's no denying his ability to shoot the puck from any angle, although, as expected, his quick stint in Abbotsford showed us the adjustments needed to reacclimate his game to properly find space and time to let that incredible release fly. Remember, he is still a freshly turned 20-year-old with just 6 North American games under his belt. And then we go into the hypotheticals. Now, we're gonna end off this article after reading one more paragraph. There's a lot more that's discussed here by Dave Hall, though, so link is in the description. You gotta go out there and read this. It's a good piece, but there are 2 arguments to be had here. One, he's on a cheap ELC ticket, and if he shows up to knock the Youngsters Showcase and exhibition slate out of the park, why not try his luck in a top 6 role to start the season? Perhaps place him with Elias Pettersson and let him figure things out on the fly. The other argument, and likely the one that makes the most sense, is for him to begin in the AHL, see ample time as one of the team's top 6 threats, have him playing in his typical trigger spot in the power play, and ensure that he's taking shots like it's no one's business. If he scores 10 goals by Christmas and commands a look at the NHL by then, the team can do so comfortably, knowing that he is confident in his ability and ready to give it a go. Now, I will say there have been a few people on social media, Twitter especially, bringing up the idea, oh, we should start Lekkerimaki in the NHL. And I think it's a little bold, especially now. The guy is only 20 years old after all, and he just came from the SHL. But I do think there's probably potential for him to do something in the preseason, right? Like maybe get a game at least in NHL colors in one of those first few games. Although I don't think it would amount to much. I think he would probably still gain to benefit more from being in the AHL and hoping that his production from the SHL continues into that league. And I like the point that Hall makes here where it's like, hey, if he has 10 goals by Christmas, if he is like a point per game, near point per game guy, why not try to call him up, give him some NHL salary for a little bit, have him work out with the main club, and then maybe get a game? Like, even last season, for all the things that we were talking about, Vancouver being good and having this successful run and having all these guys produce career highs, there still were opportunities for bottom-of-the-lineup players and AHL guys to get their names thrown in there. Arshdeep Bains got a big cup of coffee with the Canucks last season. He wasn't great, but the fact is they tried it. So for Lekkerimaki, I think there's probably potential for him to do some damage in the North American hockey scene right now. We just gotta kind of wait and see what the magnitude of that is going to be. Is he going to be just a really good AHL player in year 1, or is he going to maybe get a cup of coffee with the NHL too? Who really knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and also read the rest of the article here on Canucks Army because it's a very good piece by Dave Hall. Thoughts in the comment section. Do you believe, like I do, that Lekkerimaki could be seen as the biggest wild card for Vancouver? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. and bye.